Hi, this is Mariah Gullo from The Hollywood Reporter, and I'm in studio with Elisa Perry and Audrey Moore today from Godless.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi there.
Guys, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good.
So are you surprised by the reaction from Godless? It's out, it's getting a lot of interest.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful show.
Yeah.
And it's a different show.
Yeah.
It's something we haven't seen in a very, very long time.
Right. And for those who haven't seen it, can you just give us a brief synopsis on what the show is about and who your characters are?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. It's based on, the premise is there's a town in La Belle, New Mexico, and all of the men in the town die before the show starts, leaving all these women sort of defenseless.
And this is based on a true event.
Based on several true events. This was actually a very common thing that used to happen because, you know, the people who would work a mine, that's a very dangerous job, and so they would all, you know, die instantaneously, and the women were left to fend for themselves.
And is it like an asphyxiation thing, or?
Yeah, exactly, like a poisoning, and then all the air
Just
goes
mine.
up, and then they're all gone out of in no time. And so I play Sarah Doyle. I'm one of the ladies of the town. And Sarah, she's kind of hard up for a man the whole time. They call her the Randy Sarah Doyle. Poor little sweet Sarah. I just love her. And it's a great character, super fun. And, you know, a lot of the characters had like quite serious jobs, and I was glad I got to have a little bit more fun on it all. Yeah.
I have to say one of my favorite scenes is when you kind of just like with your parasol just like go right up to Roy Moore. Hey, who is this?
Yeah.
And the sheriff's like, get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we did
He's
that several
arrested.
times. And that's why I like about her too. She's so extra. I always have like a parasol and a fan and a bonnet and a capelet. Like
She wears LaBelle well.
if she could have glitter, she would just, you know. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
And I play June Hobbs, and you know, I don't live in LaBelle. I live in Blackton. And Blackton was actually an actual town that was migrated by an African-American couple in 1901, because I just had to ask Scott, why do the black people live in Blackton?
Right.
And then he said it was an actual town, and it really was. And so I play June Hobbs, the matriarch of the Hobbs family. She's a wonderful mother. She's a wonderful, she keeps a very good house. She's a very religious woman. But at the same time, she can pick up a Bible just as quick as she can pick up a gun. Whatever it takes to protect her family. But she's very giving and very open, almost to a fault.
And also very funny.
Yes, very funny, very quick, very quick with the tongue, and she's able to keep her husband Elias as level-headed as possible, because he can go quite off with the temper, and it's a house full of men with the exception of her daughter. So, you know, once again, it's the woman, he thinks he's head of household, but really June Hobbs runs the house. Yeah.
So, you know, it's great that the show like kind of bases it in some true stories. But I think would you say that the premise of the show is to kind of show what the Old West was like from the point of view of a woman?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
And the survival,
Right.
what it took to survive as a woman during that time. Because, you know, right now we're, you know, in this, you know, we're right now, in, I guess we can call it this Me Too, and women being taken advantage of and really standing up for themselves with the women's movement. But the women back then had to be tough as nails, physically, emotionally, like we do now, but without the comforts that we have.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, what's so great about the project was really doing the research and learning about the woman of the West. And, you know, to come from the East and journey westward was really dangerous. And in all likelihood, you were going to die. You were going to have a child on that journey. In all likelihood, your child was not going to survive, much less any children that you already had that you were bringing with you. And so there's a certain sense of already incredible courage and tenacity that is required for that kind of woman. And I say women did everything that men did in the West, but we just did it in a corset and heels.
Tell me a little bit about like preparation for your roles, or what you had to do as far as costuming, sets. What was it like to be on set for this show?
I know for me, it was my preparation was done more so from an emotional point of view, from an emotional place. The costuming and everything just added layers to what I had already prepared myself for, and I had to really take Elisa's way of thinking and handling things out of it, because I'm coming from a modern woman's point of view, an educated modern woman's point of view, who likes to shop and wear heels, but then I'm playing a woman who is the complete opposite. Who, she's getting up in the morning, she's tending farms, she's feeding chickens, you're killing your food and cooking it the same day. And at the same time, trying to take care of her children. She has a son and a daughter, and then she has her husband and a brother and a father that she has to take care of. So I had to really just get in a place of what it was like to live during that time, and especially as a woman, because it was also a very savage time. It was a time where, people could show up at your house and, you may let them in, but you don't know what you were letting in. You could kill someone and ride off on your horse, and no one looked for you. You weren't prosecuted in many cases. You could just kill someone because they took a chicken. So I had to get completely out of that mindset of the modern way of thinking. And then once I got to New Mexico, putting on the clothes and everything else just added to it, and it just really put me in the place. And once I did that, it was, I really felt like I was ready, and really discovering the whole backstory of where we came from, why we got there, and once again, and getting the relationship with everyone in my family.
For me, I feel like what was most important to me on set was to make sure that I was still bringing a lot of comedic relief. I mean, it's a show called Godless. That's not something that immediately brings humor to the title.
Can you explain the title?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff has that great line that says "Godless country," and that's really what this is about. I'm born and raised in New Mexico, and so I had a perspective of really how dangerous that terrain really is. I mean, very frequently being out there when we would be driven from one location to another, I would always think man, if you're out here and you're not prepared, you're toast. It's very dangerous. You need there's no water, there's nothing running around. It's very hard. It's a hard land. And that's what was so powerful about those women is they worked that land, and it was really hard to do. But Sarah, she is a comedic character in an otherwise more dramatic show. So I had to really make sure that I didn't let that intimidate me into being a little bit more serious. And definitely Scott, the director, was always like, I like that we have that take. No, let's take it down, but starting always being a little bit broader and then allowing him to direct me to take it down. And I think we got a lot of really good levels, because you don't know until you're in the editing room what you want for a story arc and all that sort of stuff. And then as far as the costume and everything, that was just fun. I mean, like I said, Sarah's super extra, so I was always asking for more weird stuff, more stuff that stuck out, anything like that. So that was really a good time.
June had 2 outfits.
Yeah,
because we were poor,
right.
so we pretty much had. You wore the same, you wore the same clothes, and you just washed them. But we were really, we're really, really poor, so we don't have, fancy clothes. The most you're going to do is put on an apron when you get ready to cook. But the dress you had on Monday, you're going to probably wear that same dress on Tuesday, and maybe it's something a little fancy if you have company.
Right.
But that's it.
Do you have any advice for actors who get hired to do a Western? Any just practical advice?
I mean, I think with anything, whether it's a Western or whether it's a comedy or whatever it is just to really do your homework. Really do, really prepare yourself for when you get there. But specifically with a Western, remove all the thoughts of comforts of home, including a trailer. So don't, that honey wagon you may have complained about on the last job, you just, forget about that. And really, and just be willing to live in the moment at all times. To me, even in between takes of living in, of staying in that moment of the environment that you're in. But I have to say, I really wanted to do a period piece. And so when I got the opportunity to do this, I was just really, really excited. And the fact that, I mean, come on, listen, it's a Western, but how many times do you see us, black women in a Western? So I was really excited to be able to do it. And I was just like, can I have a gun? Can I have a horse? Give me a hat. Let me have it all. I want to kill somebody. So, whatever it takes. So it was really, really a wonderful opportunity for myself. And I think the backdrop of Santa Fe is the real star of the show.
It's beautiful.
Because it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, for me, I'd say, like, if you're going to get on a Western, you're going to ride a horse, get on a horse. Because it's a lot of work, and they're animals, and they're really a wild card. And if you're going to be shooting a gun, just know you're going to have to practice with that. And that's the girls on the show. They did such a great job working with those guns and getting really fast with them. And everything that you see with them doing that, that's all real. They learned all of those cool tricks. Luckily, Sarah didn't have to be good at any of it. So they limited my practice.
Right. That's right. You got to be awkward.
That's right.
And handled your gun.
Just sad. Sad with a gun.
Yeah. You're both involved in separate shootouts. Not to spoil anything, but there are some shootouts. What was that experience like filming on those days when you have like the crazy stunt work and the live ammunition kind of were blanks? You're working with blanks, I assume, and a lot of stuntmen.
Yeah.
All that. What's that like?
For me, it was once again it was very emotional, and the particular shootout scene that we have, Scott is also someone who likes to do a lot of takes. So when he says, okay, we got it, that means we're probably going to do it about 4 to 6 more times. And a particular scene that we're out with that I'm in, I'm crawling, so I had to do that over and over again. And they were really concerned about, are you okay? Does that hurt? And I'm like, no, let's go again. Let's go again. So it wasn't. It was scary, but at the same time, it was a very tough scene to do. But I enjoyed every single moment of it.
I'd say for me, what was so striking was really how emotional it is. One of the incredible things about actually filming versus when you do something like theater is that you have it all there. And so you have the sounds going off, you have guns, you have a horse coming at you. And so for me, I'm so used to working with my imagination that then when it's all there, it's so exciting and visceral and terrifying, and watching it all unfold, and even coming out when it's all done, I was so moved by seeing everything on fire and seeing just these women come together. And there's a moment where Merritt Weaver, she just comes out, and every time when she shot it, I was crying. When I watch it, I'm crying, because it's a fight for survival. And that's very visceral when you're really there. Yeah.
Seeing the final product was, were you kind of blown away by how they put it all together?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. It's so interesting, because when you're working and you're there, to me, everything seems so much smaller. And then when you actually see the finished product, and it's just it's so much bigger, and it's absolutely amazing. And to see the full story come, you're reading the scripts and everything, but then when you see it all come together, and you see what, it's called Godless, but in the end, to me, it ends up being a really, really beautiful story. And when I watched the last episode, I was crying.
Yes.
So, because you have the town of LaBelle, but then you have these outcast people, like the people of Blackton. They kind of mind their business. They stay to themselves, like, leave us alone. We just want to live our lives. And then you got Alice Fletcher, played by Michelle Dockery, who's absolutely amazing. She's an outcast. Just leave me alone. But in the end, everyone kind of comes together to try to take care of their own and handle things.
Yeah. I feel like for me, what was so beautiful in watching it was watching Scott Frank's vision come to life. He'd been working on the script since like 2000, 2002, and had these characters and ideas in his heart. And just as a creative person, I get so excited just when I put an outfit together, so much less when you have characters and ideas, and then you watch. Netflix was so great. They built it from the ground up, and literally every character, every costume, every set piece, everything was something that was from his head that then became this incredible story. And so I'm just, as a creative person, really so happy and so excited for him on this journey, and then everyone else who got to go along with it.
And he was so ahead of his time when you think about it, because before the Women's March and all of this, here he is, he's already created these like kick-ass women in a Western.
Yeah.
So the timing of it was absolutely perfect. We need those women now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that feels like a real honor.
Yeah.
Like the timing of it, because we felt that way on set, all these women just, how often are you going to get a group of that many women in a Western? And we just all felt like so blessed on set. And then to see now the timing of it come through has really just been a real honor and a blessing, I think, to all of us.
Yeah, I interviewed a lot of the cast members from Glow, and they say it's kind of such a crazy, surreal experience because usually, they're the only woman on set.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, there's only a few women on set, maybe a few actresses, an entire crew of men, and so that experience of being, part of like a larger group of female cast members, that must be an interesting.
Well, it was great in LaBelle. Like, whereas for me in my house, it's the opposite. It's myself and my daughter and a bunch of men, and they're all former Buffalo soldiers. Yeah. So then there's a scene where Frank Griffith and a few of his crew members come, and I remember when exactly when we were shooting it, I was like, man, the testosterone in this room right now was just, you could just cut it with an absolute knife, but it was just such an amazing scene that I was just like, I actually felt my more feminine side sitting there until something happens.
Yeah. When we were on set, Kim Coates, when he first arrived, he had just finished wrapping Sons of Anarchy. And so it was really funny because he came into the van and it was 8 women. And he was just laughed so hard because he was like, this is literally the opposite of everything I've just done for several years. And he would talk about how it would be just a bunch of men and then a woman would come on, right? And now it was like this group of women and then Kim Coates comes on. So really, it was a real pleasure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, this is a limited series, but say it got picked up for a second season.
Yeah.
Where would you like to see the story go?
Oh, God. Well, I want you to live. I want you to, hidden somewhere.
Yep. I've already got it figured out.
I know
I can tell you. If it gets picked up, I'm already calling Scott and telling him this is what happens to June.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
We didn't see her body anywhere, right? No.
Absolutely
There's always
not.
flashback. There's many ways to do it.
That's
There's
right.
Absolutely. There's so many ways.
Yeah.
I'm all
about it.
For June Hobbs
that's right.
to come to live in LaBelle.
And we also know that it's already out on Netflix, but there are possibilities of ghosts as well.
Yes,
in the show.
well, not only that,
And
that's
flashbacks.
really great because I really want Thomas to come back. No spoilers, but so I want the ghost Thomas or his twin brother or whatever. And I know what people are saying online, and what I'm hearing is people want to know what happens to this town now. They want to know what happens with the Quicksilver Mining Company.
Yeah.
What happens now that Alice Fletcher found this little bag of goods, and does the town suddenly get a lot of money? I would love to see Sarah Doyle rich now. What would happen?
There are definitely unanswered questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel that people are texting me and are like, I want to know. What about this? And what about that? And I'm like, tell him.
And I'm getting text messages, you so stupid, why in the world would you? And I'm like, who is this?
That's
who are you talking to?
Well, I have some quick questions for you before we wrap up. First movie that inspired you to be an actress?
Oh, gosh.
Paris Blues. With Diane Carroll, Sidney Poitier, Paul Newman, and Joanne Woodward. Yeah.
First movie that inspired me to be an actress, I always just watched all of the AMC, TMC, classic movies from the 30s and the 40s. But I would say my heroes were probably Philadelphia Story with Katharine Hepburn and Jimmy Stewart, Sing in the Rain, all of those sort of magical moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Best day film on the set for Godless?
Oh, God. Oh, there's so many.
There's just a memorable scene day.
Yes. I loved flirting with Jack. There was nothing more fun. And Scoot is so great also. But, the way they had to film that was coming up and down with a camera on a rover, in front of these horses, and that was real fun. I got to play a little with the lines and all of that, and those boys are so charming anyway. And anytime you can give a charming Brit a good little wink and a nod, that's always a good time. Yeah.
I have to say, there was one night with Elias and I, played by the amazing Eric LaRae Harvey, where we're basically discussing Whitey and our daughter, and he's there for his violin lessons. And June is like, he ain't here for no violin lessons. Like, she knows that, like, come on, that's not what he's here. But what was great about it was that it was at night and it was cold, but it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. It was a very intimate scene, and probably that was my favorite.
Yes.
Last time a movie or TV show made you cry?
Gosh, Godless. I mean, I'm telling you, I cried. I wept.
Yeah.
I wept that final episode. I wept and then I wept some more. I mean, I wept before the final episode, but when I finished watching it, I really was so moved, so grateful, and so honored to have been a part of the whole process.
Yeah. I have to say the final scene in Godless, looking over the mountains, and it just, because it brought it all together, and it actually brought up things for me personally in relationships with family members, with siblings. It really made me cry. It did.
Worst audition experience?
Oh, God. I have
Okay.
so many.
I mean, that might take
I have
that.
one. I have a really good one that it wasn't even, I mean, I was there, but it was because they had it at a limo place upstairs, but they were casting a character of a little boy who was wheelchair bound. So they brought in all these little male actors, little kids, who were actually disabled, which I was really like, well, look at you, that's great. Except they didn't have an elevator for them.
Oh, God.
So I kid you not, these little boys had to crawl on their hands and knees. And so I was like, I'm out, I can't. I know, that was my face. And nobody thought about it, so it definitely showed me we have much work to do when considering fairness and the well-being of people in an audition.
Probably my worst audition experience was for an episode of Grey's Anatomy. And I had worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, and I just knew I resonated with this character. And I got in there, and this is like probably my 5th time for going in for any of the Shonda shows. I was like, this is probably the one. And I went in, and my mind just went completely blank. Then the casting director gave me a note. I couldn't remember anything. Nothing. I left out of there. I called another actress friend of mine. I was like, I just need to quit. I'm awful. I've been in 8 times. I can't book a job with them. I'm awful. And then she said, well, why didn't you just look down and grab the line? I was like, I didn't have the paper. And she was like, you always take the paper. I don't care. Why didn't you use the paper? And I was like, I don't know, because I thought I knew it. So that was probably my worst.
I can't book with them either, so together.
I know. Ultimately, I did. I ended up booking everything except for Scandal.
Oh, good.
So,
Shonda,
but that was my probably worst that I can think of right away. There are and then I auditioned for a public access show. It was an African soap opera in New York, and I was auditioning for the African wife Asido.
Oh gosh.
And I got there, and and they were all like Africans. They were all from Lagos. And it was pretty bad. But because it was public access, guess what? I got it.
That's really funny.
So it just goes to show you.
Yeah. I mean, in the woman thing, like what's happening now in Hollywood, I auditioned for something when I got here that said video, and I thought it was a music video. And it was somebody's back house, and I showed up, and very beautiful, everything's lovely, and then he would basically inform me that it was a female porn video, but for women. So the men would be getting naked, but the women didn't have to. But of course, if you wanted to, you could.
Was it in Chatsworth?
Starts from there.
Yeah, probably, right? That's what I said. I was like, if I was just a little less smart, then I would have been like, well, I mean, I don't have to take my top off, and then I'd been like, oh no. They're out. I didn't sign up for this.
How did this happen? How did this
They're
happen?
not paying well enough for this.
No.
That's right.
Well, ladies, thank you so much.
Thank
Congratulations on the show.
Thank
It's Godless.
you.
It's on Netflix.
Thanks,
and,
everybody.
Thank you.
Yay.
Tune in.
Thanks for
Tune
having
in.
us.
Thank you so much.
Got it.